How's it going, everybody? It's Tom Lynch here with highscorereviews.com, and welcome to another quick look video, this time taking a look at the next piece of DLC for Batman Arkham Knight GCPD Lockdown. This came out today for season pass holders, and this is quote-unquote a narrative driven piece of DLC in which we see Nightwing try and stop the escape of the Penguin from the GCPD from the help of his goons. So here, as you can see, we've started off in Bloodhaven, which is Nightwing's kind of area. This is where he operates to try and kind of stop crime and neutralize it as much as possible. So yeah, I guess I should say, just as a disclaimer going forward, I apologise for my voice. I spent 3 days at EGX over the weekend. I went Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it's certainly taken its toll. I have suffered the consequences, and I have come down with the flu. So I'll do my best to keep this this commentary as engaging as possible. But yeah, I apologise in advance. Productions have to go on here at highscorereviews.com, so yeah. So as you can see here, I'm trying to figure out a way to breach through this glass ceiling here. To find out that I have to activate all these electrical switches to remove the barricade, and then we drop through the ceiling. And continue on. So yeah, I guess it's worth mentioning that this is alongside some AR challenges for Batman, Catwoman, Robin and Nightwing, those being combat and predator orientated. This is kind of the last piece of DLC for the month of September. There is October, November and December left in Arkham Knight's kind of six-month schedule for post-launch content. I think in October we are getting another Batmobile-themed movie pack with more racetracks. I think the theme this time is the 1960s TV show with Adam West. So don't expect to see a quick look video for that, because I'm not a huge fan of the 60s TV show and Adam West's interpretation of Batman, despite a lot of people loving it. I didn't grow up with it, so I don't have an attachment to it in that way, but so don't expect to see a quick look video, but I probably will end up doing one anyway, just for the hell of it, or comedic value maybe. I don't know, but yeah, and I think as well excuse me, sorry, we have another piece of story DLC called Catwoman's Revenge, which again takes place after the events of Arkham Knight, as does GCPD Lockdown, and that sees Catwoman take revenge on the Riddler for what he did to her during the events of Arkham Knight. So yeah, as we can see here, I breached through the ceiling in epic fashion and engaged in a glorious free-flow combat scenario. And did relatively well. It wasn't flawless by any means, but I think me not restarting the game is indicative of me kind of feeling that I did pretty well. So yeah, I kind of have a wander around here and observe the surroundings. That's just me as an Arkham Knight player. I love to try and digest and take in every bit of information, or information I can, really. I try and scour the environments for Easter eggs and all stuff like that, but excuse me again, sorry, I didn't find any this time around. Instead, I did find a goon that tried to sneak up on us, but yeah, as you can see, Nightwing is interrogating him here, and he learns that he learns of the plan to try and break the Penguin out of GCPD. So yeah, as you can see here now, it's cutting to Gotham City. Nightwing has come back to Gotham to try and stop Penguin's escape. Yeah, as you probably realised, Nightwing has returned to Gotham during the day. So this is, the first time we are seeing Rocksteady's interpretation of Gotham City during the day. Not much has changed. It's still raining. Even during the day, Gotham is still all doom and gloom. So yeah. But it's still pretty cool to see it during the day, see that different perspective, I guess. But yeah, there's a little brief intro scene here. If you're curious, Nightwing is talking to Lucius there in the earpiece. Because as you all well know, if you've beaten Arkham Knight, and hopefully you have, I think I will put a disclaimer at the start of this video, for spoiler warnings. As you saw there at the beginning of that kind of introduction scene, there's a massive spoiler. But yeah, hopefully if you've made it this far, you will have beaten Arkham Knight, and you know all too well that Gotham no longer has Batman watching over it. Batman is no more, and Alfred is no more, really. After the explosion at Wayne Manor, both Bruce Wayne and Alfred are presumed dead. Obviously, we would like to think that they're not, even though the ending is very ambiguous. But yeah, that is what happened, and that is why Nightwing is dealing with this situation rather than Batman, because, everyone knows who Batman is now, so theoretically, and that's what the ending is hopefully implying, is that, Bruce Wayne and Alfred had to fake their deaths, to avoid persecution and all the press and all the rest of it. So yeah, we've dealt with those goons on the rooftops of GCPD here, talking to Lucius once more, and he's giving us our kind of next objective. I think I have another nose around here to try and see if I can spot anything. I go back to the bat signal here just to see it dishevelled and dismantled. Very depressing stuff. Batman no longer exists. But there you go. Life goes on in Gotham City. And someone needs to step up to the plate. And this time it is Nightwing. So yeah, I guess I can mention that while playing through this piece of DLC, it was pretty cool to play as Nightwing. Obviously we got to play as him briefly during the events, or during the main game, I should say, during the Penguin's weapon cache missions, obviously, where you could switch between Batman and Nightwing on the fly during the combat scenarios, which is really cool, and kind of the first time we saw that in the Arkham series. But yeah, it's kind of nice to play a campaign that's specific to Nightwing. Obviously, he has less gadgets compared to Batman, so that's kind of, I guess, disadvantage. But for all the Nightwing fans out there, they're going to be very pleased with GCPD Lockdown, and that's one of the positive things I would say about this DLC. Even though my thoughts are vastly negative, but we'll get into that in a moment. Is that there is a I wouldn't say fan service, but Rocksteady have really nailed the character of Nightwing. Some of the highlights of this, or the highlights of this DLC, I should say, is the kind of the witty conversations between Nightwing and Lucius. The conversation that's just took place there before this scene is, Nightwing makes a sarky comment about, what's Lucius doing with all the money now, since Wayne Enterprises has been left to Lucius Fox to run, and Lucius makes another snarky and quite comedic comments by saying that he's throwing a lot of wild parties, which is really cool, and that kind of dialogue continues throughout the DLC between Nightwing and Lucius, and between Nightwing and Penguin as well, which really captures their bittersweet rivalry, which I really appreciated. But I would have liked to have heard more of it, really, and that's essentially because this piece of DLC is so short that it all whizzes by. There's not much to it essentially, and that is my main kind of gripe with this DLC. If you haven't noticed already by checking out the length of this video, I beat GCPD Lockdown in about 25 minutes, which to me is downright ridiculous and unacceptable, to be quite honest with you, if I'm being honest. I've seen more skillful Arkham Knight players than myself on YouTube, for example, Batman Arkham videos. He or she beat the game, beat this piece of DLC in half my time, in about 13-14 minutes. And when I saw that video go up yesterday, I checked my phone. I unfortunately couldn't play this yesterday because I was at university and all the rest of it, but I digress. But anyway, yeah, I saw that video, and I noticed the length, and I was like, no, surely that's not right. This DLC can't be 13 minutes long, and essentially it is. I mean, this takes a bit longer than that because, as you'll see a little bit later on, I die due to a poor predator choice, or poor choice during this predator scenario, I should say. But yeah, essentially, a flawless run through, you can beat this in about 15 minutes, and I was just absolutely astounded by that. I couldn't believe it, and I still can't believe it. I sat down to record a quick look video for this piece of DLC, since I use the PlayStation 4's video capturing capabilities. I have my stopwatch on my phone, kind of obviously recording the time, so I know when it's approaching 15 minutes to end the particular clip, because the PlayStation 4 can only capture 15 minutes worth of footage. So I have that ready. I stop it just before 15 minutes. I save that video clip, and PlayStation 4 then moves on to capturing the next 15 minutes. And I couldn't believe it afterwards that this quick look video has essentially turned into a playthrough of GCPD Lockdown. A full look, if you will, at GCPD Lockdown. I was completely shocked, if I'm being honest with you, but ultimately really disheartened and disappointed, because especially off the back of A Matter of Family, which was the latest piece of quote-unquote story DLC, handled by WB Montreal. That had the stereotypical WB Montreal glitches, and it had those type of issues with it. Anyone that's played Arkham Origins will know that had its fair share of bugs and glitches, and that's kind of the stigma that's attached to WB Montreal at this point, unfortunately. But it's still a valid criticism to make, and A Matter of Family certainly lived up to that stigma, I guess, if you will. And yeah, that's why it was so much of a relief to know that Rocksteady was handling this next piece of story DLC. We were like, oh, okay, Rocksteady's taking care of this one. It's going to be better. But A Matter of Family, which was, at the time, considered, and still is considered, short, this has, this is even worse. A Matter of Family, well, this has nothing on A Matter of Family. You can check out my review of A Matter of Family over on the site for a bit more information. But essentially, you could beat A Matter of Family in about an hour and a half. This, as I've said, you can beat in maximum 30 minutes, which quite frankly
I've been thinking
is
you pretty much own everything now,
is ludicrous. It's ludicrous.
But I bet you've been throwing some
And that's why
parties,
that's why it's a huge kind of slap to the face for the Arkham Knight community. For all those people, including myself, that bought the season pass, despite its hefty price tag, and despite the little information of the content we were going to receive with it. at the time, you know, this is going to be a serious low blow. A serious low blow, especially with the kind of the gravitas attached to this piece of DLC. You know, this is, you know, something taking place after the events of Arkham Knight. You know, you play as Nightwing. You know, the premise is you play as Nightwing. You're trying to stop the Penguin from escaping from the GCPD, but you know it's taking place after the events of Arkham Knight. So there's, you know, or so we thought. You know, there's room there for kind of exploration in terms of the game's very ambiguous ending. But you know what you'll learn through playing this, that there's very little exploration or very little clarification of the ambiguous ending. And you know, to be to be honest, I think that's kind of the way Arkham Knight's ending is meant to be left, is very ambiguous, and I completely respect that. But you know, I would have loved to have heard more and learnt more about, you know, maybe the state of Gotham post Batman and post Arkham Knight. You know, how is Lucius feeling to Bruce and Alfred not being around? You know, what's Gordon up to? You know, in another conversation Nightwing and Lucius have, you know, they mentioned briefly Barbara and Tim's wedding. You know, cause as we learn at the end of Arkham Knight, you know, Barbara and Tim get married. You know, Lucius mentions that you know, Barbara or Tim sent him over photos. It's just like, you know, I would have loved to have learned a bit more about that, and but unfortunately, you know, it's not to be. I mean, there's plenty of room for it. You know, you bump up the length of this DLC to, you know, 2 hours, hour and a half, and you know, you've got room there to, you know, to flesh out the state and where these characters are after the events of Arkham Knight. But unfortunately, it's not to be, which is, you know, really disappointing. And you know, I can appreciate that, you know, Arkham Knight is Rocksteady's last Arkham game. You know, it's the conclusion to their trilogy, so they don't really want to necessarily feed fans this information, excuse me, and maybe get them hopeful that Rocksteady will come back for another Arkham game, or they don't want to, you know, leave any teases for the future game, because, you know, quite frankly, there isn't going to be one. Well, not developed by Rocksteady anyway. But you know, it still would have been nice to, you know, to have learnt a bit more than, you know, a few very brief sentences between these characters, to be honest with you. And I guess the other positive thing I could say about GCPD Lockdown that I mentioned in my written review is what you're seeing here, really, which is you know, this very extended Predator scenario. You know, during their Arkham Insider video, the folks at Rocksteady said that, you know, this is the biggest Predator scenario they've ever built, and you know, you can see that. You know, there's multiple levels to this Predator scenario, multiple kind of exit and entry points, you know, through the glass, you know, which you can burst through, and that takes you to the outside of, you know, the GCPD, you know, to maybe give you a bit more breathing room and plan your next attack, and obviously it gives you entry points to the different levels of this environment. But yeah, beyond that, there's not much else to it. You know, there's nothing really different to anything you've experienced in the main game. Which, you know, you can say there doesn't necessarily need to be. You know, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Just give us more Arkham Knight, for example. But I think ultimately, well, as I just said, you know, give us more Arkham Knight, and this is like kind of the bare bones of that statement, really. And you know, like I mentioned in my review, I guess, you know, some understanding can be formulated as to why GCPD Lockdown is so short. That might be because of, you know, Rocksteady's monthly approach to the DLC and the post-content launch for Arkham Knight. The fact that they're, you know, jumping from content to content, you know, on a monthly basis, you know, and they have been doing, you know, more than one piece of content per month, for example. But the fact that largely the content so far has been skins. It's been a few more AR challenges, and some racetracks that are designed after different interpretations of Batman. You can't help but expect somewhat slightly more, especially from a piece of story-driven content. I think it's pretty safe to say from when a game says that it's going to have a piece of story DLC, an expansion of the main game. It's going to expand the narrative of the main game and tell you what has happened afterwards. Excuse me. I think it's pretty safe to say that usually those are about 2, maybe 3 hours long. Maybe even more when you look at games like Borderlands and Fallout, for example. And I know these are kind of labeled as Arkham episodes. I get that, but I think for what the asking price is of the season pass, I think there needs to be more depth to this. It needs to be longer than 30 minutes. A Matter of Family, as I said before, was an hour to an hour and a half, and that was again, that was quite disappointing, but it was you can appreciate that there was reason to go back because there was collectibles to find, and I think there was a nice little you had those interactive carnival games that kind of fleshed out the story of the abandoned theme park. That was really nice. That gave you a reason to come back into that environment and explore it a bit more. This has none of that. None of that at all. Maybe they could have put some records in, or maybe some interview tapes between officers talking about Bruce Wayne as Batman and how they can't believe Batman is Bruce Wayne. Something along those lines, just to give players a bit more of an incentive to maybe come back and play this. I mean, GCPD Lockdown is very similar to the Harley Quinn and Red Hood piece of DLC, which you got if you pre-ordered the game. And again, like I said, they are all under the umbrella of Arkham episodes, so you could say that is somewhat justified, but I would disagree with you. I think as I said previously, for what they're asking of the season pass, and it needs to be longer than that. It's going to be really, really interesting to see how much this is priced for people that don't have the season pass, because it's going to need to be pretty cheap, for people to justify people downloading it at all. If I'm quite honest with you, if this gets priced at $5.99, then quite frankly, that's not worth it. No way is that worth it. I would expect this to be priced at around about $2.99, if that. I just think it's, or I would go so far as saying it's not really worth downloading at all. To be quite honest with you, I would, if you had to pick any piece of DLC so far from Arkham Knight, I would put my money in A Matter of Family. You get more content there, and that's why I think. Again, this is another reason, as I mentioned before, this GCPD Lockdown is so disappointing. Is because we were really hoping and dying for a bit more information, and as I said, a bit more exploration into the characters' mindsets after the events of Arkham Knight, and we just don't get that. As I've said before, coming up here is a really nice humorous scene between Nightwing and Penguin here. He kind of pretends to be a goon and says that, I've got Nightwing with me here, and Penguin comes out and expects to be free, and Nightwing is just leaning here, waiting for him. Yeah, but that's it. You know, there's very few positive things to be said about this piece of DLC, and you know, especially with it being developed by Rocksteady, you know, we expected so much more. You know, the story DLC
Thanks for the offer.
for
But
Arkham
this isn't
City
permanent.
was miles better than this, and even a cold heart from Arkham Origins, which was, you know, largely considered as, you know, a pretty disappointing piece of DLC, was longer than this. You know, and it just completely baffles me, and you know, it's only going to amplify people's concerns for the post-launch content for Arkham Knight. So yeah, that has essentially been a quote-unquote quick look video, if you want to call that, for GCPD Lockdown. As I said, you can check out my full review over on the site, and this video will be embedded into that. And yeah, until next time, I'll catch you guys later, and keep it tuned to High Score Reviews for more Arkham Knight content.